It's a very windy March 13th today. Lelaine, if you're watching, I hope you've kind of kept track of some of my videos I put up on MySpace, and I'm planning on putting up some more videos on my Facebook site as well. Kimmy, a young girl from Australia, if you're watching, I watched your last couple of videos. They're very good. The one that was a Hillary Duff video, you are very, very talented when it comes to computer special effects and stuff like that, and doing all that fancy stuff and everything. Me, I don't really nearly have the talent that you have. I mean, at the age of 16 or 15 or whatever, how old you are very skilled at doing all that computer stuff, which I don't know. I mean, I know my pastor, he's pretty skilled at that stuff, but, you know, he went to college for it, you know, so he's got an advantage. I think maybe probably one of these days you should go to college for some kind of arts or computer arts or something like that. I don't know. Also, I saw that video of your friend or whatever acting goofy, and it was pretty funny. I have to say it was pretty funny, but I have to say that at the age of 32, I'm kind of past humor that is quite that goofy. But I tell you, when I was 16, when I was a goofy 16-year-old, I would have just absolutely loved your video. I would have, you know, made it like my star video or something, my favorite one or something. I would have just loved it because I had a goofy sense of humor to an extreme when I was, you know, that age. So I thought that was a pretty comical video you did. Anyways, sorry everybody, I haven't kind of kept in touch with my videos and stuff like that. I've had a lot of stuff going on and everything, some big changes in my life and stuff. But anyways, today, March 13th, my dad was born in the year 1932. He was born in the Midwest in Iowa, and I'm just wanting to make a video, wish my dad a happy birthday, because, you know, he's my very best friend. You know, he's my very best friend. He's still my very best friend. And you know, even though right now, you know, I can't see him, I can't talk to him, you know, still, I mean, he's still my best friend. And he still, you know, I feel like he's with me every moment. And, you know, well, with not being able to talk to my dad right now and everything, and be real close to him, in a way I feel a little bit empty and everything, but no, I still feel he's right there, you know. And you know, my dad, he's a pretty extraordinary person, you know. I mean, he was in Korea, you know, Korean War. He was an amphibious CB, as in Incheon, and he was stationed in Japan for a while, and you know, when he was in Japan, he studied judo, became very good at it. But I mean, he was athletic to begin with, because his father, my grandfather, he was a very athletic guy, only weighed about I think 145 pounds. But this guy could box, like, you know, box really good. He was a really skilled boxer. But he grew up, you know, he was always a rancher and stuff like that. And he was a cowboy in Wyoming for a while. But then he moved to Iowa and he became a farmer. And he was just a really talented person himself. In fact, back in the old days in Iowa, they had these corn picking championships or contests. And my grandfather won the Iowa State corn picking championship. And you know, my grandfather, he's good with animals and everything, being a, you know, rancher and all that jazz. And but my father, he was more mechanical. Even by the time my dad was 12 years old, my dad was doing all the work on all the machinery on the farm. I mean, just incredibly mechanically skilled person, you know. I mean, he built his own motorcycle once, and when it comes to motorcycles, my dad, he was a good horseback rider. He always rode bareback, you know. He didn't like wearing a saddle because at first they couldn't afford a saddle, but you know, he learned how to ride bareback, and that's just how he was. And the thing is, the person who's used to riding, you know, riding quite aggressively bareback, riding a motorcycle is like child's play, you know. My dad, once he got into motorcycles, oh man, I mean, he really got skilled at it, you know. And he really liked the World War II Harleys, you know. And in fact, there's this guy we know on the outskirts of Lancaster, around Avenue E, or, you know, kind of in that area, lives out in the desert. And he was a friend with Steve McQueen. And, you know, me and my dad, we have these brakes, these sheet metal rollers and brakes in our yard. They used to belong to Steve McQueen because, you know, Steve McQueen was in the race car racing and everything, and so, you know, he had the sheet metal equipment. And my dad was a sheet metal worker, so he really went to going buying these things. But anyways, this friend of Steve McQueen commented my dad was way riskier and everything on motorcycles than Steve McQueen was. Now, my dad wasn't into the heavy drugs. He did take bennies and stuff for a while, but my dad, but not like Steve McQueen was into heavy drugs, and my dad wasn't into loose women and stuff quite as much as Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen really went overboard in that. Steve McQueen was overall wilder, but when it comes to just being an individualistic, outdoorsy, tough guy who was good at riding motorcycles, good at riding horses, whatever, my dad had Steve McQueen beat. My dad was a really cool guy, and like I said, he studied judo in Japan, and he was already skilled at boxing and everything. And I swear, my dad was one of the toughest old guys you ever met. Until just a few months ago, me and him were walking 6 blocks a day, and he was strong as can be, and he could do Russian push-ups and one-arm push-ups. He used to do handstands when he was younger, but he was doing push-ups even at an older age. But when he was younger, he used to do handstands on the back of chairs. My dad had such an interesting life, and like when he was once when he was in the North Pacific, off the coast of Alaska, he was in one of those flat-bottom boats, and there was 30-foot breakers. My dad got washed overboard, and believe it or not, because it was World War II surplus, the life vest, neither one of the CO2 cartridges worked, and my dad was able to survive that. And all kinds, the things he'd been through, massive injuries, falls, he survived all kinds of stuff. He got shot in the leg, and he's just as tough as nails, but he's still a very kind and sweet man, and he was very loving towards my mom. And, the only problem he struggled with was alcoholism. Every now and then, he'd really fight that. And, he was a good, decent guy. And I really love and respect my dad in so many ways. And how many older guys who've my dad would be 79 today. And how many guys at the age of 78 could do Russian push-ups and one-arm push-ups and go for walks, and without any walk real briskly and everything. I mean, he was a strong, tough guy, and he's my very best friend. My dad is my very best friend. We had a really close relationship. Both my parents, they were the greatest parents. My mom, she had a lot of psychological problems. She grew up, kind of in the South, and bad conditions. She was picking cotton from the time she was 8. Her father was a moonshiner, and she was abused a lot. Her first husband, he joined the Hells Angels. He abused her, and because he got addicted to methamphetamines, and he went a little bit nuts from it, and like a lot of Hells Angels do. And then her second husband, he didn't use drugs. He didn't have that excuse, but he was just plain psycho, and he beat her and put her in a coma for 2 months, and she had a lot of hardships that she went through. But especially as she became sick, her psychological problems came back and stuff. But she was a good mom, even though she'd go off every now and then. Still, she was a good mom, and especially considering what she'd been through. And my dad was the best in every way, and it was only about a week ago. My dad, he had papers and everything to already get out and everything. But there was some kind of, because we were in the hospital, I was staying with him, and my dad, like I said, my dad had papers to get out, but there was a medical mistake. Somewhere along the line, they didn't set this thing right or something, and my dad passed away, for no reason whatsoever, really. Because, even though my dad, had some health problems, they weren't that severe. And he could definitely recover from it. And the thing is even though my dad is physically, he's not in this world anymore, he's still with me. He's still my very best friend. I still talk to him, and one of these days we'll be able to talk together again in heaven. And Kimmy, Lelaine, anybody out there who's watching, I just want to emphasize, there's so much stuff in life that we just waste our time with. We waste our time watching TV too much, spending too much time on the internet, doing this, doing that. And, the things we got to focus on, we got to focus on the ones we love. We got to focus on following God and having faith in God. And, I just, looking back on it, I should have focused more on, studying the Bible with my dad and just communing with my dad. And we had a close relationship, but we could have had so much closer. And, Lelaine, Kimmy, anybody watching, just learn from my mistakes and learn from the mistake that I made of just not focusing myself on, my parents as hard as I should. Your parents are such a big part of you, and you should do everything you can to care for them and love them, and just have a close focus on God first and your family, and especially taking good care of your parents. It's so important.